I've spent the last 2 months daily driving the Steam Deck. Probably a little bit more than 2 months at this point. But nonetheless, the Steam Deck has been a phenomenal investment. I've tried all these other devices, all these other, Windows handhelds out there on the market, the Ally, the Legion Go, all these now I've tried and tested with for multiple hours and days at a time now. And I keep coming back to the Steam Deck. Even after testing these brand new handhelds that offer more performance or more features, I find myself always coming back to the Steam Deck. In those basically 3 months at this point, of time with my Steam Deck, I have learned a lot of things. I learned installing Windows on it is really easy, but using Windows isn't always perfect. Emulation is phenomenal on the Steam Deck. And I learned a lot about how Linux computers work and how to, navigate Linux and stuff like that. And through all of that, I have felt like the Steam Deck is probably the perfect beginner mobile, handheld PC device. Because the innate nature of the Legion Go and the Ally and these INEA devices and stuff like that, there's just an incredibly high bar of entry, whether it's price, skill level needed to, operate the device because it's just brutally Windows. It's stuff like that doesn't have that. Steam Deck doesn't have that same problem. And it's simply just easy to use. Even in Windows as I have it now, it's one of the easier devices I've used in Windows. It's just having the touchpads alone makes it tremendously easier to use it in Windows than something like the Ally. And thanks to some of you down in the comments, you'll be on screen now, I've been able to find some tools and download some tools to help, smooth out the experience, help make it easier to use. Some of my problems were fixed through these tools and that were built by the community. Software support for this device is just fantastic. There are so many community-made tools, so many software alternatives that you can get on this device that are just simply super easy to use or super easy to download. And that's something like the Ally and the Legion Go and even most INEA devices simply just did not have. And I think that's the real advantage of the Steam Deck, is just the huge community support behind it. Not to mention stuff like the price, the quality, and stuff like that. But other than that, there's so many awesome features that I've only touched the surface of, even more than 2 months into using the device. 2.5 months into using this device, I have no complaints about stuff like performance. Most of the games I have own and play run fantastic on the Steam Deck, even in Windows. There are some games that don't run as good as they did in SteamOS, but that's mostly negligible and doesn't impact me that much, depending on what game the games in particular, like Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I don't really care about that game in particular, so who cares? It runs a little bit worse in Windows. And there were some games that even surprised me with how well they ran, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 had recently had its free trial period, and I played that on my Steam Deck for the most part. And it ran fantastic, running, all low settings, but it was at 60 FPS, 67, I even had an instance where I was at 80 FPS on shipment, which was crazy. But then it was kind of stuttery, but then I capped it at 60 and it was fine. And that's just kind of the case right now. I'm finding new things that the Steam Deck can do that just keep on surprising me. And I don't think that will ever really end for a long time. The Steam Deck is just a device that has so much community support behind it, so much love and fanfare and support from Valve for a very long time that we probably won't see another Steam Deck for maybe another year and a half or so. And of course, I'll probably make a video when that time comes or further down the line to see how well it's holding up at the present time, maybe some point next year. But I don't see me, really wanting more than my Steam Deck anytime soon, purely because it's just so darn convenient to use. Whether I'm in SteamOS or whether I'm in Windows, it is overall just a really simple to use device with a lot of, quality of life features that some of these other devices simply don't have. And not to mention, that just murders them on price. The new OLED model has come out too recently in this time. And while I have less experience with the OLED than the original model Steam Deck, the OLED is also just a fantastic upgrade. That HDR OLED screen is just phenomenal. Just such a beautiful display, such rich and vibrant colors. The contrast is phenomenal. The HDR effect is brilliant. And that's simply something other devices just don't have. And it's stuff like that I appreciate Valve doing. And cross your fingers, maybe we'll see sort of like an upgrade, pack or something from different manufacturers to transplant the new screen into older Steam Decks. Because I'm gonna do that when that comes out. I swear to God, it'll be sick to have that new screen on my Steam Deck. And while I don't directly own that model Steam Deck, I do spend a lot of time with that model because, I have friends and family who also bought the Steam Deck OLED. That's how I was able to, do all my videos about it. But back to the topic at hand, the Steam Deck itself has changed how I play games in general radically. I get to enjoy so many of my high-quality PC gaming experiences on the go. It's like having a portable Xbox One in your hands. It's a really weird analogy to make, but like all these games are running either the same or better than my original Xbox One. I'm playing Jedi Fallen Order at like 50-ish FPS, which is I think higher than what the original Xbox version was at. And I get to play that on road trips. I went on a road trip recently to a local mountain for, a hike and stuff. So it was about an hour drive, and on that drive, I connected to a wireless hotspot, and I was playing Destiny 2 on the go, which was so fun. And there was 3 of us in the car who were, not driving, and we all connected to the hotspot, and we were all, had Steam Decks or allies and stuff, and we hopped into Destiny, and we started doing, some strikes in a dungeon, which was just such a fun and unique experience that you don't really get to do so often. It gives that feeling of a classic, LAN party, but with the same sort of control and feeling of like a Nintendo Switch. It is truly such a fun thing to do that you can't do on most of these other handhelds, whether it's due to a lack of performance, lack of compatibility, or just not having anything comparable to, compare it against. But with all this positive, talk about the device, there is one large, I would say, just black mark on my experience so far. While on that same road trip, we all had to be plugged in about after like an hour of playing, and we were fighting for the outlets in the car because there was only 2 inside the car, like full like AC outlets. So somebody had to be on a battery bank, which was, finicky. And so, yeah, battery life has been noticeably horrible this whole time. And that is to be expected, especially if you're playing higher class games. Like, I swear to God, I got like 45 minutes playing Modern Warfare 3, and it is just overall kind of a sort of sour note for this, sort of 2-month, later review. But battery life was noticeably pretty horrible once I switched to Windows. SteamOS, it was bad. It was like 2 hours, for most games I played. But in Windows, holy cow, was the battery noticeably worse. I don't know if it's because of a me thing. I don't know if I just, after reinstalling Windows after a whole thing that happened, it was just noticeably worse. Even before I had to reinstall Windows, it was still bad. So I think it's probably just how Windows manages battery life, and with all the extra background resources just in Windows in general, I noticed a much steeper drop off in battery life. It's not great, but it is still survivable. Like, I will always have a battery bank on me or the charger with me if I leave the house. It's not ideal, but it's something that, as we stand with these mobile PCs, is something you'll just have to deal with. Because the only device I've experienced that has pretty good battery life is the Legion Go, because that thing is a fucking chonker of a device. It's such a heavy device, and the Steam Deck, while not being light by any means, is considerably lighter than that at least. The Steam Deck has radically changed my gaming habits. I play games more often in more different places. I go sit in my living room and play games when I just want a change of scenery, and I don't have to, take a break from the game I'm playing. I can keep playing it on my deck. And with, Steam's cross save, it makes it super easy, or these always online games make that super easy that I never have to either wait to sync my data or have to, maintain separate save datas. It's just such a radical change, and I love it, and I can't wait to see how much more development we see in the future for not just the Steam Deck, but all other gaming handhelds in this industry. What are your thoughts? Do you own a Steam Deck? Do you relate to any of these things? Have you gone on a road trip and played a Steam Deck in the car and looked like a crazy person? I'm curious to hear your thoughts, comments, and questions down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All that other social media garbage down below. Bear in mind, I post literally nothing most of the time, but it's nice to get followers. And last but not least, have a wonderful day. Merry Christmas.